Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to another day on Revival from the Bible. Today, I want you to think about this. Whose opinion do you care the most about? When other people think of what you do, who really matters to you? Because the Bible makes clear there is one person that we should care about more than anyone else in what he thinks of what we are doing. And we've been talking a lot about faith and fear this week. And today, I want to specifically talk to you about the fear of man. So join me for another day on Revival from the Bible. So we're going back into the Old Testament again today to look at King Saul. And today we're going to see again God rejecting King Saul, and even today we will see David anointed as the king. And chapter 15 tells the story of God telling Saul, hey, you need to go to war against the Amalekites and you need to wipe them all out. All the people, all the animals, everything. And he comes back and he spared the king and he spared a bunch of the animals. And God says, that's not what I told you to do. And Saul comes up with this excuse, we thought it was a good idea if we brought back some of the animals for sacrifices. Yeah, see, look, it's a godly motive. This is why my dad always used to call King Saul the Burger King king, right? Because their old slogan was have it your way, right away, right? That Saul wanted it his way instead of God's way. And he tried to rationalize it and make it sound good, but that's not what it was supposed to be all about. He didn't do what God told him to do. But if you read carefully, you will see, go down to verse 24, after he gets rebuked by Samuel, and he's all sorry because he doesn't want the kingdom to be taken away. Kind of like those of you parents, right? When your kid gets in trouble and they're sorry because they got caught or because of the consequences, right? And he says, I have sinned, for I have transgressed. This is verse 24. I have sinned, for I have transgressed the commandment of the Lord and your words, because I feared the people and obeyed their voice. He says, hey, the reason I did it was I feared the people. I cared more about what these people thought of what I was doing than I did of what God thought I was doing. And then later you see how important the opinion of other people is to Saul when he's begging Samuel to come back with him. He tears part of his robe and he says, I have sinned, yet honor me now before the elders of my people and before Israel, right? He ultimately doesn't care about getting right with God. He just, hey, can you make me look good in front of the people? That's what he cared most about, and that was ultimately his downfall. And we've been talking about faith and fear, and I think one of the things people are most afraid of, one of the most prevalent fears in our world and amongst Christians, is the fear of man, right? That we care so much about what other people think, and that influences our actions. Think about, even teaching kids about peer pressure and what that means and how we shouldn't let just other people's opinions influence what we do. And we're going to see, again, an opposite. When Samuel goes to anoint King David in chapter 16, right, he reminds Samuel, hey, God is not looking at the outward appearance. God looks at the heart. And that's true, but is that important to you? Do you care more about your appearance? Do you care more about how you come off to people? Do you care more about what people think of you? Or do you care more about what God thinks of you going into your heart? And this connects now with our New Testament reading today when Jesus talks about, the cost of discipleship, right? If anyone would, this is now getting to Mark chapter 8, verse 34, when Jesus says, if anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. And then in verse 38, he says, for whoever is ashamed of me and my words in this adulterous and sinful generation, of him will the Son of Man be ashamed when he comes in the glory of his Father with the holy angels, right? He basically says right there, hey, if you're so concerned about what people think that you're ashamed of me, then you don't have me, right? It's kind of, in many situations, a binary choice. Are you going to fear God or are you going to fear man? And thankfully, especially in our culture, there's still a lot of things that I think do please God and please men when we do the right thing. So the two aren't mutually exclusive, but which one is more of a priority? And there are going to be situations where it's one or the other. And I don't know what that's going to look like for you today. I don't know what that's going to look like for you this week, whether it's something on the job site, or whether that's something in your home, whether that's just something in your heart, whatever that might be. But whose opinion do you care more about? The opinion of others or the opinion of God? And it takes faith to believe that, because the opinions of others can be felt. The opinion of God doesn't always express itself right away to you, right? God isn't taking your job away every time you give in to the fear of man, right? We don't always sense that immediate response from God, where we can sense it from other people. It takes faith to say, hey, these people might not like what I'm doing, but I know God does, and so I'm going to keep doing it. So that's just a big lesson I saw coming up a couple different places. One other thing we need to mention today, the end of 1 Corinthians chapter 6 is so clear, even with one specific charge, and that charge is to flee from sexual immorality. And that's a good word for us, even just as we close today. And he just warns that this sin is even uniquely dangerous. And he says, run away. And it reminds us of the Old Testament example of Joseph, right? How when Potiphar's wife was talking to him, he literally He ran away. And that's a good example and a good word for us today. I don't know what ways temptation, even in this area, is going to present itself to you today, but God's word to you is this: run. Run away. Flee from sexual sin. Do not play around with it in any way today. God takes that seriously, and it will have a serious effect on your life. So I hope you were encouraged and challenged today. I want you to think today, hey, whose opinion do I care most about? And make it your aim today. Hey, I want to please God. That's number one, more than trying to please anybody else. So have a great day, and we will see you again tomorrow on Revival from the Bible.